Everyone gave up on Rex. Once a decorated war dog on the front lines, he was now a trembling shadow of himself, aggressive, broken, and labeled too dangerous. With no hope of recovery, Rex was days away from being put down, until a 12-year-old girl sat down outside his cage. Lily hadn't spoken a word since losing her Marine father. She didn't try to touch Rex, didn't speak. She just sat and drew pictures of a lonely dog behind bars. No one could have predicted that the bond between two wounded souls would not only save them both, but ignite a movement that would give hope to countless others in need of healing. Before we dive into the story, tell us where you're watching from, and if this story pulls you in, don't forget to subscribe. Now get ready, because what happens next will stay with you long after the story ends. Rex's final assignment began under the blistering sun of a Middle Eastern desert, where temperatures soared past 100 degrees. He was part of an elite canine unit tasked with rescuing hostages deep inside hostile territory. The entire squad had trained together for months, trusting Rex's acute senses to detect mines, hidden traps, or concealed enemies. When the call finally came, tension crackled through the air like static. Helicopters hovered at a safe distance, and the team of special forces, armed and alert, moved in on foot, every step a testament to discipline and caution. At the head of the formation walked Staff Sergeant Harris, guiding Rex with quiet, precise hand signals. But it was actually Lance Corporal Logan, a younger handler who had spent countless hours bonding with Rex. Logan believed that loyalty went both ways. If he trusted Rex, the dog would trust him back, especially in life or death situations. In the heart of that desert compound, Rex suddenly froze, ears rigid, sniffing the air. His muzzle lifted slightly, and he let out a low rumble in his throat. That was his subtle way of signaling an anomaly. Something was off. Logan, attuned to Rex's every gesture, motioned for the squad to halt. The dog paced back and forth, nose to the ground, then raised his head again and locked his gaze on a patch of dirt about 10 feet away. Immediately, the bomb specialist was called up. Sure enough, they discovered a hidden mine, an improvised explosive device rigged to detonate under the slightest weight. Rex had saved them from a catastrophic blast that would have spelled doom for the entire team. But fate can be cruel. As the deactivation process wrapped up, another explosive, undetected and placed farther along the path, went off. The thunderous roar shook the ground and sent shrapnel flying in every direction. Rex let out a sharp bark that turned into a yelp of pain as fragments tore through the air and lodged in his left hindquarter. Lance Corporal Logan, his closest companion, was caught in the blast with lethal force. Rex whimpered, pressing his muzzle to Logan's shoulder, as if trying to rouse him to will him back to life. Around them, medics scrambled to treat the wounded, and the rest of the squad tried to secure the perimeter. But for Rex, the moment was carved in horror and grief. His friend was gone. Evacuation proceeded under duress. Rex, limp on one side, was carried onto a chopper with other casualties. He had risked his life countless times, but never had he experienced such profound loss. The flight back felt surreal, a whirlwind of pain and confusion. By the time they reached the military base hospital, Logan had been declared killed in action, leaving Rex's condition precarious yet stable. Fragments of metal were removed from the dog's hindquarter. Over several days, his physical wounds would begin to heal, but the deeper wound, losing Logan, left scars beyond flesh. Every time Rex woke up post-surgery, he whined softly, glancing around in search of his handler, searching in vain for that familiar presence. After a brief period of rest and basic medical observation in the forward operating base, Rex was shipped back to the United States. The official statement was that he needed further care for his injury. Unofficially, concerns grew that the trauma of losing his handler, combined with the shock of the explosion, might affect Rex's reliability. Handlers and veterinarians who had heard about the incident braced for the possibility that this once top-performing canine could emerge as a different dog entirely. Upon arrival stateside, Rex was placed in a well-regarded military canine rehabilitation facility. At first, his physical progress inspired hope. He ate modestly, responded to simple commands from staff, and even allowed short walks on a leash. Yet as the weeks wore on, subtle changes turned into glaring red flags. He began startling at the slightest noise, thunder, the backfire of a car engine, or even the buzz of an overhead airplane caused him to cower, then lash out defensively. Veterinarians recognized signs of severe canine PTSD, heightened aggression, defensive snapping, and refusal to let anyone touch his collar or head, areas that historically signified control in a military setting. One evening, a staff handler tried to put a standard harness on Rex for routine exercise. Rex responded with a furious bark and lunged. The handler, well versed in canine protocols, managed to avoid serious injury, but the incident was jarring. Subsequent attempts to calm him only escalated the situation. Staff reported that Rex whined incessantly at night, pacing in his kennel to the point of wearing down his paw pads on the concrete floor. Therapy sessions that had once been mildly successful turned into daily battles of will. The facility's lead veterinarian, specializing in military working dogs with trauma, gave a grim assessment. "We're dealing with a severe case of post-combat stress. He's fixated on triggers related to the explosion and the loss of his hand. If we can't break through this cycle of fear and aggression, I'm afraid we'll have to consider more extreme measures." With those words, Rex's fate took a darker turn. He was transferred between two different rehabilitation centers, each more specialized than the last. But both came back with near-identical verdicts. Dangerous when triggered, unresponsive to standard treatments, and a high risk to staff. The final center, the third in line, went so far as to place Rex in solitary kenneling, affixing large red warning labels. Level 4 hazard, do not approach alone. Staff tried sedation, behavior modification, and short-leashed walks behind protective barriers. Nothing quelled Rex's nightmares, and no one could approach without invoking either a fear response or outright hostility. Resignation set in. A classified note was circulated among relevant military canine units. Rex, age 5. Status, non-rehab. Approaching euthanasia. At each location he was placed, Rex's presence became synonymous with dread. In the first rehab center, the staff had high hopes, believing their specialized team could calm him. The plan revolved around short sessions of muzzle training and positive reinforcement. Unfortunately, on day 3, a trainer found Rex had somehow broken the latch on his steel kennel. As worse, Rex rushed him in the corridor, barking frantically, teeth bared. The trainer managed to wedge a board between them, escaping with minor scrapes. But the message was clear. Rex was far beyond a normal fear response. He was operating as though every human was a potential threat. They labeled him unmanageable and transferred him out within a week. The second center employed a method known as reflex nullification, intending to gradually reduce Rex's triggers by exposing him to mild stimulus. Staff introduced recorded thunderclaps at low volume or flickered lights to mimic distant explosions. Instead of de-escalating, Rex responded by refusing to eat, scratching the kennel floor incessantly, and barking through the night until he was hoarse. Within days, multiple staff members reported near bites while attempting to feed him. The center's director wrote in an official memo, "I fear for my staff's safety. Our standard protocols don't even scratch the surface of this dog's trauma." By the time Rex reached the third center, his reputation preceded him. They placed him in a sterile isolation chamber, installed security cameras, and limited human contact to short intervals for feeding and cleaning. Yet even then, each time the door slid open, Rex rushed forward, eyes filled with a terrifying mix of fear and aggression. The footage showed him snarling at the slightest movement, with no improvement in sight. The team there concluded, he's locked in a state of hypervigilance, showing no willingness to bond or obey. Euthanasia might be the only humane option. That verdict would have been the final word, if not for a quiet phone call to Sam Carter, an old friend of one staff member at the third center. Sam was a retired military medic who ran a modest rescue facility called Haven Paws, specializing in canines with combat background. Sam had spent years nursing dogs back from the brink, often focusing on physical injuries, missing limbs, hearing loss, or degenerative issues related to advanced age. As behavioral trauma was a tougher arena, but Sam had a reputation for patience and empathy. The staff member confided over the phone, "We have a dog here named Rex. He's beyond anything we've handled. You're our last shot, otherwise he's being put down." Curiosity and compassion led Sam to request Rex's full file, video clips from the mission, the after-action reports detailing Logan's death, medical notes highlighting Rex's PTSD. The most striking footage showed Rex lying beside Logan's body in the desert sand, refusing to leave. Even as the medics tried to pull the dog away, Rex struggled to stay near his fallen handler. In a separate clip from the stateside facility, Rex was cowering in a corner when a staff member approached with a slip leash. The dog's eyes glowed with the same haunted despair, as though he was still stuck in that single catastrophic moment of the blast. Watching those videos stirred Sam's memories of the times he had served as a medic on overseas deployment. He understood loss, the raw heartbreak of losing comrades in an instant. If any human could relate to a traumatized war dog, it was someone like Sam, who knew the pang of not being able to save everyone. Late into the night, Sam replayed the footage, taking notes on what triggered Rex: sudden noises, abrupt gestures, the approach of uniforms. He saw that under all the aggression, the dog was just terrified. "He's not a monster," Sam murmured. "He's a soldier who lost his best friend." It was well past midnight when Sam phoned the center's director and said, "I'll take him," and to prepare the transfer papers. Early the next morning, Sam presented the situation to the Haven Paws board. The sanctuary was small, running on donations and volunteer labor. They primarily took in older canine retirees who needed a calm environment to live out their final years. But Sam was determined. He explained that Rex was only 5, a prime age for many more years of service. If they could help him, we can't just throw him away. Sam insisted. The board members were understandably worried. One reminded Sam that if Rex injured staff, the liability could force them to shut down. Another asked how they would cover the specialized therapy for such an extreme case of PTSD. Sam had no easy answers, but he promised to assume personal responsibility for any damages or medical bills. He even signed a waiver stating that if necessary, he would keep Rex under his own direct watch at all times. "If he has a last chance," Sam declared, "that chance belongs to someone who knows what it feels like to lose everything in a single moment. I can't turn him away." Reluctantly, the board relented. They permitted the transfer, giving Sam a strict time frame to show any hint of improvement in Rex's condition. Otherwise, they'd have to revisit the euthanasia discussion. By noon that same day, Sam received a final phone call from the third center's director, who repeated a dire warning. "He's the most traumatized dog we've seen in years. If you change your mind, we can handle the procedure here." Sam's voice was steady, though a flicker of apprehension coursed through him. "No, I won't change my mind," he said. "Bring him over." The transfer took place under heavy sedation. A specialized transport van arrived with 2 handlers wearing protective gear, leading a drugged but still reactive Rex in a reinforced crate. He growled at anyone who came near. Even through his haze, the handlers rushed to unload him, sign the papers, and depart as quickly as possible. Sam stood by, observing quietly, arms folded. He knew what fear looked like, and in Rex all he saw was raw, primal terror, overlaid with the muscle memory of a combat dog who had lost all sense of safety and purpose. The door of the transport clanged shut, and the van drove off. Sam knelt by the crate, ignoring Rex's defensive snarls. "Welcome to Haven, Paws," he said softly. "You're safe now." Of course, Rex didn't understand the words. But maybe, Sam hoped, in time the dog might understand the intention behind them. Carefully, Sam arranged for Rex's crate to be set in a separate wing of the facility, away from the calmer dogs, to reduce triggers. Over the next few hours, staff tiptoed around, making sure everything was secure, double-checking the locks and gate. By nightfall, the only sound from that isolated kennel wing was the low, uncertain whine of a wounded soldier who had lost his way. Sam Carter stood outside the chain-link door, watching Rex pace in circle. The man recalled the swirl of red dust, the final screams on a battlefield, and the haunted eyes of survivors who never truly left the fight behind. "I'll do what it takes," Sam murmured to no one in particular. "I won't let you go, Rex. Not like this." And so began Rex's perilous journey at Haven Paws, a journey hinged on the unwavering belief that given the right care and understanding, even the most broken warrior might find a path to healing. 12-year-old Lily Carter carried more pain than any child her age should ever know. She was the only daughter of First Lieutenant Daniel Carter, a dedicated Marine who had served multiple tours in Afghanistan. Lily's mother had passed away from a heart condition some years earlier, a gradual loss that left her with a quiet ache in her chest. But the final blow came when Daniel died on a mission overseas. The news arrived in the form of two uniformed officers, knocking on her apartment door one brisk October morning, each step echoing in Lily's memory. By the time she fully comprehended what they were saying, that her father was gone, she felt something inside her break, as if the fragile thread keeping her tethered to the world had snapped. In the span of a single year, Lily lost both parents. First her mother's slow decline, then her father's abrupt and tragic death on the battlefield. At the funeral, Lily stood by the casket, numb and unresponsive to the murmured condolences from extended relatives. Friends tried to coax a reaction, a tear, a sob, some physical sign that she was processing her grief. Instead, Lily seemed to drift away into a realm of silence. She stopped speaking altogether, refusing to engage with teachers at school, neighbors, or even old family friends, who came to pay respects. Doctors examined her. Eventually, a psychiatrist concluded Lily was suffering from selective mutism, triggered by post-traumatic stress. The child had retreated behind a wall of silence so impenetrable that no gentle prompting or therapy had managed to coax her out. In the psychiatrist's words, her voice remains intact physically, yet it's locked away by intense grief. She needs a calm, supportive environment, somewhere she can feel safe enough to heal in her own time. With her father's passing, Lily's closest living relative was her grandfather, Sam Carter, a retired military medic. Sam ran Haven Paws, a modest rescue facility, dedicated to helping retired working dogs, particularly those who had served in the military or law enforcement. Although Sam was in his late 60s, the authorities saw him as the best option. Nevertheless, Lily's silent state and Sam's humble living conditions at the rescue center raised concern. Social workers worried a property filled with traumatized or elderly dogs might not be suitable for a grieving child. Sam spent weeks compiling letters of recommendation, explaining that while Haven Paws might lack the suburban comfort Lily once knew, it provided a sense of community and purpose. Former colleagues and local veterinarians vouched for Sam's character and the emotional benefits of human-animal connections. Leaving Denver behind, Lily arrived at Haven Paws on a cloudy afternoon, the mountains looming in the distance, casting long shadows across the fields. A single paved road led up to the sanctuary's main entrance, flanked by tall fences and a sign reading, Haven Paws, Service Dog Rescue and Rehabilitation. Sam greeted Lily at the car, giving her a gentle, cautious hug. She didn't return the gesture, but she allowed him to guide her inside the main house. Boxes of her belongings sat unpacked in a corner, reminders of a life she once knew but no longer recognized. Despite the formality and tension, Sam took a deep breath of relief. He wanted to believe that the rustic environment, fresh air, open land, and the presence of dogs who had faced their own demons would be exactly what Lily needed. Sometimes the simplest setting, free from hustle and judgment, provided the best conditions for healing. But he also knew the road ahead was uncertain, that Lily's silence was a symptom of deep heartbreak no caretaker could remedy quickly. During her initial days at Haven Paws, Lily spoke to no one. Sam tried to show her around the property, the main kennel building, the supply shed, and the wide training yard where dogs with mild issues were exercised. She followed him obediently, but without a word or nod. He introduced her to the small staff, primarily volunteers, who all treated her with gentle kindness. Some attempted casual conversation. "Hi, Lily. I'm Nora. Welcome," but Lily would only lower her gaze and shuffle her feet in silence. At meal times, Sam invited her to sit with him in the cozy kitchen, where a mix of dog-related posters and old family photos dotted the walls. She refused politely by shaking her head and retreated to her room, closing the door softly. The staff exchanged worried glances, whispering concerns about the child's mental health. Sam asked them not to push, stressing that Lily needed time. He understood she was processing unimaginable grief. He gave Lily a small bedroom overlooking a patch of lawn. On the shelf, he placed some books that once belonged to her mother, light romance novels, children's classics, and a photo album featuring Lily's parents on their wedding day. Sam hoped these familiar items might spark a sense of comfort. Lily spent hours in that room, sitting on the bed with a blank expression. Occasionally she'd turn pages in the photo album or stare out the window at the chain-link fences and the kennels beyond. Late on her very first night, Lily heard barking and howling echo across the sanctuary ground. She sat upright in bed, heart pounding. The sounds were aggressive, pained,
like tormented cries in the dark. In that moment, Lily felt an odd kinship with the unseen dog. The noise was raw, unfiltered anguish, not so different from her own locked-away sorrow. Though she couldn't place a name or face to the animal responsible, Lily had a fleeting realization. She wasn't the only broken soul at Haven Paws. Something out there was hurting just as much as she was. Since arriving at Haven Paws, Rex had been placed in a separate kennel facility, far from the gentler dogs. Even Sam hesitated to let volunteers approach him without precaution. The dog's reputation as dangerous preceded him, and his behavior confirmed. Loud snarling whenever someone walked past, heavy barking at random hours, snapping at the chain-link fence as if trying to break out. That first week, Sam installed round-the-clock cameras to monitor Rex's every move. Most nights, the footage showed the war dog pacing ceaselessly, occasionally gnawing on his own bedding in frustration. Rex's feeding schedule was adjusted to night hours. A staff member, clad in protective gear, slid a bowl of food into the kennel around midnight. Only then, in the absence of prying eyes, would Rex grudgingly eat. By daylight, if anyone approached, he would bare his teeth or retreat to a shadowy corner of the enclosure, trembling with residual fear. The cruelty of war and the loss of his handler had warped Rex into a perpetual state of fight or flight. Sam often watched the camera feed with a heavy heart, silently questioning whether he had been too optimistic in thinking he could help this traumatized animal. It was by chance that Lily stumbled upon Rex. One cool afternoon, she wandered through the sanctuary with a sketchbook in hand, hoping to find a quiet place to sit. She followed a narrow path around the outer perimeter, where she eventually noticed a row of isolated kennels. Most were empty, but the second one housed a large German Shepherd mix with an imposing frame and a scarring pattern on his left hindquarter. At first, Lily froze, uncertain if she should come closer. The dog was pacing restlessly, ears pinned back, occasionally baring his teeth at a volunteer who stood some distance away. But the moment the volunteer left, something shifted. Lily, crouching by a low bush, caught a glimpse of Rex's eyes through the chain-link fence. They were filled with the same haunted emptiness she felt within herself. Instead of fear, she felt a quiet empathy. Maintaining a gap of about 15 meters, Lily sat down on the grass and took out her sketchbook. She started drawing. For the next hour, she barely looked up, but every time she did, she noticed Rex watching her. He neither barked nor snarled. He merely stared, as if puzzled by her presence. By evening, Lily calmly closed her sketchbook and headed back inside, leaving Rex to ponder this silent visit. Later that night, Sam and the head trainer, Maya, checked the recorded footage from Rex's enclosure. They had expected to see the usual storm of aggression, gnawing, pacing, frenzied barking. Instead, they found extended stretches of unusual calm. Rex stood near the fence, occasionally walking in circles, but far from his typical meltdown. In the corner of the camera's view, Lily was visible as a small figure sitting in the grass, hunched over her notepad. She looked up now and then, and Rex, though tense, seemed transfixed rather than in rage. Maya replayed the footage 3 times, struggling to interpret the behavior. "He's alert, but not aggressive," she pointed out, almost like he's curious or watchful. Sam leaned forward, elbows on the desk. "This is the first time I've seen him go more than a few minutes without snarling at passersby," he said quietly. For a moment the two exchanged glances. Could Lily have tapped into something they, with all their training and experience, had overlooked? Neither dared jump to conclusion. It might have been a fluke, a single moment of relative calm, but Sam decided to keep a closer eye on both Lily and Rex. He didn't want to intervene just yet, not if this peculiar dynamic might blossom into a form of unspoken communication. "Let's keep the cameras rolling," he suggested. Maya nodded, scribbling notes about the time frame Lily was present. In the days that followed, Sam spent countless hours poring over footage from the new vantage point. Lily continued to approach Rex's enclosure daily, always around the same time in mid-afternoon, armed with drawing tools or sometimes just sitting with her knees pulled up to her chest. She never spoke, never offered food, never tried to tap on the fence. Yet Rex's violent outbursts became less frequent, at least during those windows when Lily was present. One evening, Sam and Maya sat down in the small office, reviewing the tapes. On screen, Lily was sketching quietly, while Rex paced close to the fence. Maya pointed out details. The dog's lowered tail posture indicated stress, but not active aggression. His hackles were slightly raised, a sign of unease, yet he wasn't lunging at the chain link. "He's unsure," Maya murmured, but not hostile. It's like he's looking for something in. Sam nodded, or seeing something familiar. He added softly, he's drawn to her stillness. She's not demanding anything from him. He recognized the same battered spirit behind Lily's silence. Maybe Rex sensed it as well. Two lost souls, each grieving a friend or family they'd never see again. Though Sam wasn't one to rely on miracles, he dared to entertain the flicker of optimism that perhaps Lily and Rex could find solace in each other's quiet company. In the week that followed, Lily adopted a gentle routine. Each morning after breakfast, though she usually only sipped a bit of tea or juice, she meandered over to Rex's enclosure. She never tried to make eye contact with Rex in an intrusive way, never called out or made abrupt gestures. Rex, for his part, seemed conflicted. Initially, he would bark or growl when staff passed by, then fall silent when Lily appeared. He would approach the fence with careful steps, tail stiff, ears pricked. Some days he kept a significant distance, pacing and peering at Lily from 10 or 15 meters away. On other days he inched closer, eventually resting in the shade near the fence, so that only a short gap separated them. Lily maintained her calm posture, occasionally glancing up, offering a slight tilt of the head in acknowledgement. Though the two were divided by chain links and heartbreak, a rhythm emerged. For hours at a time, Lily merely existed beside Rex. Once or twice, staff members observed this peculiar standoff from afar, half expecting the dog to spring up and snap at the fence. Instead, he settled into a wary but oddly peaceful watchfulness. The cameras confirmed the same dynamic, an unspoken agreement that each would allow the other's presence without hostility. Before Lily's arrival, Rex barely finished half his daily ration.
Now, records showed that he was consuming nearly all of his food, still preferring to eat late at night, but no longer leaving the bowl untouched until morning. Even more surprising, staff noticed that when they walked by to check on him, Rex no longer leaped at the fence with wild aggression. He watched them warily but didn't erupt into snarls unless someone got too close or moved too quickly. One afternoon, Sam found Rex lying calmly with his front paws extended near the fence, while Lily was perched on the outside, doodling trees and clouds in her notebook. The distance between them was less than 2 meters. That was a watershed moment, the first time Rex had stayed that close to a human for more than a few fleeting seconds since his arrival. Sam stood at a distance, observing in quiet awe. He didn't dare intervene or speak to Lily, worried that any external pressure might shatter this fragile progress. Back at the main office, Sam updated the dog's log with hope in his handwriting. Rex now tolerates Lily's presence at close range, not fully relaxed, but definite improvement from prior patterns. Rain drummed against the tin roof of the kennel one morning when Lily approached carrying a small, worn paperback. Sam, watching from the corridor, saw Lily pause at the chain link. She gazed at Rex, who sat hunched in the back corner, ears folded against the downpour. With deliberate steps, Lily moved to the usual spot in the grass, opened the book and started to read. Her voice was soft, barely audible over the rain, but it was a voice nonetheless, a gentle, trembling melody that formed actual sentences. No one at Haven Paws had heard Lily speak more than a few hesitant syllables, mostly no or please murmured under her breath. This was different. Though her tone was subdued, she was clearly reading the lines of a story, stumbling occasionally but pressing on. Rex's ears perked up, he inched forward, sniffing, as though drawn to the unfamiliar yet soothing cadence. From where Sam stood, he could catch faint snippets of the tale, something about a child finding a lost puppy in a forest. The synergy of Lily's halting voice and the backdrop of rain created a cocoon of calm. Rex settled closer to the fence, his muzzle almost touching the chain links, listening. At one point he gave a small huff, not quite a bark, perhaps a sign of attentiveness. Lily paused, meeting Rex's gaze for a moment, then continued. When she finished the page, she closed the book and let the hush of the rain fill the silence. Though her face revealed no overt smile, there was a gentleness in her eyes that hadn't been there before, and Rex, rather than retreating, remained near the fence, occasionally shaking droplets from his fur, waiting as if hoping she'd read more. Later that day, Sam recounted the scene to Maya in the staff lounge, excitement clear in his usually reserved demeanor. And Rex, he was calm, almost like he was listening to bedtime stories. Maya offered a subdued grin. It's remarkable, Sam. In the records of canine PTSD, we rarely see a dog so quickly attuned to one specific person's presence, especially a child who isn't actively training them. She's just there, Sam nodded, tapping a pen against his notebook. I've begun calling it non-demand communication. Lily isn't telling him to sit or stay, she's giving him space, reading, drawing, or just be. It's the opposite of what the standard therapy manuals suggest for high-risk aggression cases. Intrigued, Maya proposed constructing a semi-open interaction zone. Instead of chain-link fences that created a hostile barrier, they could set up a double-gated enclosure, letting Lily and Rex occupy the same space while still ensuring a secondary fence for safety. The idea felt bold. Some would call it risky, but Sam believed it might accelerate the bond that was already forming. He started keeping a private journal each night. Day 12 of Lily's arrival, she read to Rex in the rain. The dog that everyone labeled irredeemable sat calmly, responding not with fear but with cautious acceptance. Lily too broke her silence. Maybe they're healing each other. In the following days, Sam prepared a preliminary report to submit to a small conference on animal-assisted trauma therapy, focusing on the uncanny synergy between a withdrawn child and a combat-torn canine, though he kept expectations modest, aware that many factors could still derail Rex's progress. He couldn't help but feel hope stirring in his chest. The quiet realm of Haven Paws, once overshadowed by sorrow on all sides, was seeing the first rays of a sunrise that neither Lily nor Rex had imagined possible. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support our efforts in bringing you stories like this, and stick around. Lily and Rex's journey is far from over. Dean Holloway arrived at Haven Paws on a brisk Monday morning, stepping out of his county-issued SUV with a clipboard in hand, and a stern expression etched across his face. As an official from the local animal safety office, he wasn't one for pleasantries. The staff, who had heard rumors of an inspection, eyed him warily. Something in his cold demeanor suggested that he had little faith in rehabilitation efforts, especially for a dog labeled as highly dangerous. Sam Carter walked over to greet him, extending a polite handshake that Dean only half returned. "We've had reports of a war dog in your facility, one that poses a risk to public safety." Dean began without preamble. "I need to assess the situation personally." His tone gave Sam a chill. He led Dean to the private enclosure where Rex was kept, explaining along the way how the dog had arrived with severe PTSD after a traumatic mission overseas. They stopped at a chain-link fence, behind which Rex paced back and forth, letting out low growls whenever Dean took a step closer. The official scribbled notes on his clipboard. "Doesn't look fit for a community environment." Dean muttered, "Any slip-up, and you'd be liable for a severe incident, maybe even a fatal one." Sam tried to keep his voice calm. "We're working on it. Rex has shown progress, especially around my granddaughter, Lily. She's formed a bond with him that none of us expected." Dean glanced at Rex, who responded with another fierce bark, then glared at Sam. "A bond with a child? That sounds more like a liability waiting to happen. If that dog snaps, you won't just be facing lawsuits. We could be talking criminal negligence." From a short distance, Lily peered out of a nearby shed, curious about the stranger. Rex continued to snarl at Dean, thrashing his tail in agitation. Sam gently waved Lily back, not wanting her to approach right now. Dean made a point of shining a flashlight around the enclosure. He's got a good view of passing vehicles. Any loud engine could set him off, and if someone was ignorant enough to come near him without full protective gear. He left the sentence hanging. "Well, I've installed a double gate system," Sam insisted, gesturing at the reinforced fencing. "Cameras monitor him around the clock. He's never interacted with the public unsupervised, and the notion that he's beyond saving is premature." Dean clicked his pen, adding more scribbles to the clipboard. "I've read the preliminary file, Mr. Carter. It states repeated aggression, multiple near attacks at previous centers, and a psychological state that hardly improves with standard therapy. I've yet to see a plan that convinces me this dog won't someday break out and hurt someone." Sam swallowed, steeling his resolve. He's begun a unique form of trust building with Lily. She spends time reading to him, sitting quietly by his kennel. We've seen him calm down in her presence. It's the first meaningful breakthrough we've had. Dean looked unconvinced. "A child reading stories. Pardon my bluntness, but we're dealing with a military-trained canine that's been through war trauma. Sentiment won't cut." They stood in silence for a moment, the tension thick as Rex continued his angry pacing. Finally, Dean sighed. "I'm prepared to recommend one of two options to the county board: indefinite isolation under sedation or outright euthanasia. Those are typically the outcomes for dogs deemed a hazard to the community." Hearing the words euthanasia set Sam on edge. He fought to keep his voice steady. "At least give us time to show real progress. We've only had him a few weeks. He's already responding to Lily better than anyone thought possible. Dean tapped his pen against the chain link fence, letting the dog's hostile growling fill the air. 2 weeks, he said at last, his expression resolute. I'll grant you that, but only under strict oversight. I want regular updates. And if there's any incident, any bite, any escape attempt, you lose that leash. Sam exhaled, relief and fear mixing in equal part. 2 weeks, I'll do everything in my power to demonstrate Rex is on a path to recovery. Dean reached through the fence with his pen, testing Rex's reaction. The dog lunged, teeth clicking against the metal, saliva spraying. Dean jerked back with a sneer. Better do it fast, Carter, because right now, all I see is a ticking time bomb. He turned and strode away, leaving Sam standing at the enclosure's edge, heart pounding. As Dean's SUV rumbled off down the gravel driveway, Sam walked over to Lily, who had remained half hidden behind a storage. Her eyes showed concern. She might not speak much, but her look asked a clear question. What just happened? Sam laid a gentle hand on her shoulder. We have 2 weeks, Lily. We have to make sure Rex continues to improve, or else. He didn't need to finish the sentence. The dread was evident in his voice. That evening, Sam penned a brief entry in the logbook. Dean Holloway visited, threatened sedation or euthanasia. Gave us 14 days, must intensify watch and updates. Lily is our best hope. Her bond with Rex might be the lifeline that saves him. By nightfall, staff at Haven Paws felt the weight of the ultimatum. Even Maya, ever the pragmatic trainer, looked anxious. We'll keep a close schedule of who goes near Rex, she proposed. No one but me, you or Lily. Fewer triggers, less stress. Sam nodded, and we'll document everything. How often Rex eats, if he barks, the times Lily sits with him. They needed hard evidence to present to Dean, something that might counter his doubts and show the dog's genuine steps toward rehabilitation. Outside, the moon hung low, illuminating the fenced-in area where Rex trotted restless. Lily ventured partway across the yard, pausing near the enclosure. She lifted a hand, not to beckon him, but simply to let him see she was there. Rex stopped, ears twitching. For a fleeting moment, he sat down, mouth closed, eyes locking onto the girl. Then, with a soft whine, he turned away, disappearing into the dim lighting at the rear of his kennel. Sam watched from the porch, arms folded. Dean's warning echoed in his mind. Dangerous, unpredictable, a community has. But Sam also recalled how Lily's presence had sparked the first embers of calm in Rex's shattered psyche. He had to believe those embers could be fanned into a flame of healing, because in 2 weeks' time, the county would decide whether Rex deserved the next chapter of his life, or no chapter at all. A storm front moved in late one night, the sky roiling with thick clouds and intermittent flashes of lightning. Weather reports predicted heavy rain and gusting winds, enough that Sam directed the staff to kennel all the dogs indoors for their safety. By 11 o'clock, the heavens opened in earnest, pelting the roofs with a torrential downpour. Thunder boomed across the valley, rolling ominously over the sanctuary. In the isolation wing, Rex was another story. Even mild thunderstorms triggered his PT. A violent storm was a nightmare scenario. The cameras showed him pacing frantically, tail down, ears pinned against his skull. Each crack of thunder magnified his terror. Lightning illuminated his silhouette in harsh white bursts, capturing a dog on the edge of pure panic. From her small bedroom, Lily heard the echo of Rex's frantic barks. Her mind replayed Sam's words about how certain loud noises, helicopters, gunshots, thunder, reminded Rex of combat. Lily stood at the window, peering through the dark, watching the kennel yard light flicker under sheets of rain. She sensed that if no one intervened, Rex might hurt himself trying to break out of that cage, or slip into a deeper, unrecoverable terror. But Sam was preoccupied. A fuse had blown in the main building from the high winds, and staff were scrambling with flashlights to prevent a total power outage. Lily searched for him but only saw a flurry of activity around the generator shed. She grabbed her raincoat, a bright yellow one she'd found in a closet, and a small LED flashlight from the kitchen counter. Then she dashed outside, the storm lashing at her face. The downpour almost blinded her as she made her way to the isolation wing. Water seeped into her shoes and wind whipped her coat around. She slipped once, her knee hitting soggy ground, but she pressed on. Rex's barking grew louder, more frantic. Through the chain-link fence, she saw him spinning in circles, occasionally throwing himself against the kennel's side. Without hesitation, Lily unclipped the latch on the outer gate that led into Rex's kennel. He was in full fight-or-flight mode, eyes wild, chest heaving. She opened the kennel door just enough to slip inside.
The swirling wind and staccato thunder made it impossible to hear anything but the pounding of rain against concrete. Despite her small frame, Lily braced herself, stepping onto the kennel floor slick with water. Rex froze at the sight of her, teeth bared, tail stiff, but he didn't rush at her. Instead, he let out a guttural bark that turned into a half-whine, half-snarl, as if pleading for help yet not knowing how to accept it. Lily gently set her flashlight on the ground, letting it illuminate the space between them in a weak circle of light. Then she sank down to her knees, hugging them to her chest, her hair plastered to her face by rain. She said nothing, but her posture was as unthreatening as a child could muster. Small, hunched, presenting no direct gaze. Thunder boomed again, the flash revealing a trembling dog contorted by fear. Lily inhaled, trying to steady her own shaking nerves. Then she began to hum a quiet lullaby, a tune her mother used to sing on nights Lily felt scared or lonely. At first, Rex continued to pant, sides heaving, nails scraping the wet concrete in a frantic rhythm. The entire kennel rattled with each flash of lightning, yet Lily's wordless melody cut through that chaos like a gentle thread of calm. The tension in Rex's stance lessened bit by bit. He took a step closer, ears tilting forward to catch the faint sound of her humming. Lightning flashed again, followed by a deafening clap of thunder that nearly shook Lily off balance. Rex jolted, letting out a fear bark, but instead of turning on Lily, he inched near. He seemed to recognize that the small figure was not a threat but a source of surprising reassurance. His muzzle brushed her shoulder, water dribbling off his fur. Lily kept humming, eyes half-lidded in concentration. Gradually, Rex's panting grew less ragged, his body no longer coiled like a spring. Finally, he lowered his head and pressed it against Lily's knee. It was as though he was seeking shelter in her presence, an anchor in a world turned upside down by thunder and memories of wars. Lily reached out with trembling fingers, gently stroking the fur behind his ear. She softly whispered, "I'm here, it's okay." That single contact was monumental. The dog, once deemed untouchable, so traumatized he attacked anyone who came near, allowed Lily to pat his head. She noticed a half-healed scar near his ear, perhaps a fragment from the mine explosion. With no sign of aggression, she carefully wiped away some rainwater pooling around the wound with a corner of her sleeve. Rex let out a low whimper, but he didn't pull away. Outside, the storm raged. Inside the kennel, a fragile bubble of calm settled over them. Lily continued the lullaby, her voice rising just enough to cut through the drumming rain. Rex's eyes fluttered, the tension around them replaced by cautious relief. The hush that enveloped them was so profound that neither noticed Sam rushing into the outer corridor. Drawn by the open gate and Lily's missing raincoat from the house, Sam arrived, heart pounding, expecting to find a chaotic scene, perhaps Lily pinned down or Rex in another destructive rage. Instead, he saw his granddaughter sitting in the center of the kennel, soaked from head to toe, cradling Rex's muzzle as if it were the most natural thing in the world. The dog that had nearly torn fences apart earlier now lay quietly, ears perked but not alarmed, occasionally lifting his gaze to Lily's face. Behind Sam, Dr. Eric Morgan, who happened to be visiting Haven Paws that evening, stood in stunned silence. Rainwater trickled off his jacket, but he made no move to interrupt the scene. Gently, he pulled out his phone and began recording, not for exploitation but for documentation. The transformation before them defied all standard protocols for handling severe canine PTSD. Sam whispered, "Oh my God," as if uttering a prayer rather than an exclamation. He inched forward, unsure whether to call Lily away or let the moment continue. But Lily glanced up, meeting her grandfather's eyes, and shook her head ever so slightly. Sam understood disturbing them now might break the fragile trust that had formed. So he waited, mind racing with a mix of awe and fear at how dangerously close Lily had come to being hurt. Lightning flashed once more, painting the kennel in a harsh white. Rex flinched but did not leap away. Instead, he leaned more weight against Lily, letting out a slow exhalation. It was as if he'd found a shield against the terrors in that small, brave child's presence. When the storm finally began to move on, Lily helped Rex stand. He stepped carefully across the wet ground, still shaky but far from the frantic mess he'd been just an hour earlier. Sam gathered the courage to speak softly. "Lily, sweetheart, let's get you both somewhere dry." She nodded. Rex followed them out of the kennel, muzzle occasionally brushing Lily's arm as if checking to be sure she was still there. Dr. Morgan set his phone aside, hurrying to open the side door into a small covered hallway. They guided Rex inside under a dim light. Though the dog trembled with residual stress, he didn't snap or growl. Lily gently towel-dried him under Sam's supervision, patting him with reassuring murmurs of, "Good boy," and it's okay. Each gesture seemed to strengthen the fragile bond between them. Sam, Morgan finally said, what we witnessed tonight, I've never seen a traumatized canine respond this way, especially not in such extreme conditions. This was extraordinary. He hesitated, clearly grasping for the right words. I need to document this carefully. It could be a vital case study for understanding war dog PTSD. Sam nodded, eyes still flicking between Lily and Rex. Document whatever you need to. Lily, are you all right? She nodded, though she was shivering and so. Sam draped a blanket around her shoulders, relief coursing through him as he realized Lily had come out of the ordeal unharmed. As the thunder rumbled in the distance, the crisis began to feel almost surreal. Only minutes ago, Rex had been on the verge of self-destruction, and Lily had risked everything to comfort him. Now, with the calm after the storm settling over Haven Paws, Sam felt certain that he'd just witnessed the turning point. If there was a moment that could prove Rex's capacity to trust and be saved, this was it. Later that night, Sam moved Rex to a quieter stall, lining it with fresh straw and leaving the top half of the door open so the dog wouldn't feel trapped. Rex went willingly, glancing over his shoulder to ensure Lily wasn't far. She stood by the stall entrance, meeting his gaze with a steady calm. Dr. Morgan hovered in the background, quietly storing his recorded foot. The entire sanctuary felt different now, charged with a mixture of disbelief and hope. When Lily finally made her way back to the house, she exchanged a final look with Rex, who let out a quiet whine that sounded almost like gratitude. Sam walked his granddaughter upstairs to her room, handing her a fresh towel. She was still trembling, whether from the cold or the intensity of the night's events. Sam couldn't tell, but one thing was clear. Lily had found her voice in the most perilous circumstances, guiding a broken war dog through a raging storm. Downstairs, Sam sat alone in the living room, heart pounding. He replayed the scene in his mind, Lily's lullaby, the way Rex leaned against her as though she were a lifeline. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. 2 weeks, Dean had said. After what he had seen tonight, Sam no longer had any doubt that given the chance, Rex could become a different dog, and Lily, a child no longer trapped in her own silence. Word of the nighttime storm incident spread beyond the walls of Haven Paws as swiftly as a summer breeze. By mid-morning, Dr. Morgan had shown Sam and Maya the short video clip he'd captured. Lily soaked through by rain, kneeling while Rex rested his head on her lap in the middle of a thunderous downpour. The raw emotional impact of that footage was undeniable. Sam and Dr. Morgan decided to share the clip on social media, titling it, "A Little Girl and a War Dog Healing from the Darkness." Within hours, the video began to accumulate comments and shares. Some viewers were caged dog rescue advocates. Others were families of veterans who resonated with the struggle of PTSD. A retired Navy SEAL wrote, "I've lived with nightmares for years. Never imagined a child could soothe them in a dog who's been through war." Maya scrolled through the feedback on her phone. "Sam, you have to see these," she said, eyes lighting up. People were pledging small donations, $10, $20, and writing heartfelt notes like, "Thank you for not giving up on him," or "His story reminds me of my brother when he came home with PT." The cynicism that once clouded the name Rex was slowly lifting. Even those in the local community who had doubted Sam's efforts began to soften. Some remembered the county official Dean Holloway, issuing stern warnings. Now, a wave of public sympathy for Lily and Rex rippled through the town. Local newspapers ran a short piece titled, "War Dog Finds Unexpected Hope, with Silent Girl," featuring a still image of Lily patting Rex's head in the drenched kennel. The story highlighted the trauma both had endured, Lily losing her father and Rex losing his handler in combat. One afternoon, an aging ex-Canine officer named Robert visited Haven Paws. He carried a handwritten letter that read, "Dear Lily and Rex, I used to have a partner named Shadow. When I retired, the department separated us, and Shadow was passed along. I've regretted it ever since. Seeing your video gave me courage to find Shadow and bring him home. If a little girl can help a dog trust again, maybe I can do the same. Thank you." Sam read the note aloud to Lily, who stood quietly, nodding in understanding. Though she spoke few words, her expression conveyed gratitude. Rex nudged her leg as if sensing the positive energy filling the space. In the days following the storm, Dr. Morgan conducted a formal behavioral assessment on Rex. He watched how the dog interacted with Lily, how he reacted to staff approaching with food, how he responded to mild noise triggers. The improvement was palpable. "He's still prone to startle," Dr. Morgan admitted, noting how Rex would flinch at sudden clangs or dropping objects, "but his aggression levels have dropped significantly. He hasn't tried to lunge at anyone all week." The veterinarian compiled his findings. 1. Emotional responsiveness. Rex displayed signs of positive attachment to Lily, often seeking her out when anxious. 2. Social engagement. He allowed brief petting from Maya, and no longer cowered in the corner when staff approached with calm energy. 3. Reduced hyperarousal. Though thunderstorms remained a severe trigger, day-to-day noises triggered minimal reaction. His bond with Lily is a textbook case of mutual healing, Morgan concluded in his report. She was silent, withdrawn. Now she reads aloud and even hums to him. He was violent, fearful. Now he's calm enough to trust her physical touch. It's as if each discovered a mirror for their own pain. Buoyed by the video's impact, individuals and organizations began reaching out. A local animal rehabilitation center pledged to support specialized diets and medical treatments for any war dog with PTSD. 2 veterinary students from a nearby university emailed Sam, asking if they could volunteer at Haven Paws for the summer. They wanted hands-on experience with a groundbreaking therapy approach that put the emphasis on patient choice and empathy instead of forced obedience. Sam was overwhelmed by the interest. For months they'd scraped by on minimal donations, constantly worried about balancing the costs of dog food, vet bills, and facility upkeep. Now the online donation form was seeing daily contributions, small but heartfelt. Comments poured in for Lily and Rex, "Keep going," or "I cried watching the storm video, please buy him something nice." Even $5 gifts felt like a lifeline, a reminder that people care. Maya and Sam reorganized the sanctuary's budget, deciding to allocate some of the new funds toward an expanded fence line that would allow for more open interaction spaces, like the one Lily and Rex used. They also planned to create a small reading nook in the training yard, where Lily could continue reading to Rex without dealing with chain-link barriers. Imagine a garden bench next to the run, Maya suggested, a place that's safe for Lily but inviting for Rex.
We can adapt the environment so he doesn't feel imprisoned. Meanwhile, a few more war dogs were in the pipeline to arrive at Haven Paws. Hearing of Rex's case, other centers contacted Sam, curious to see if the child-led approach might be replicated. Sam quickly cautioned that Lily's rapport with Rex was partly serendipitous, an unlikely pairing of 2 traumatized souls. Yet he also believed in the principle behind it, the power of quiet presence, patience, and unconditional acceptance. "Rex taught me something," Sam told Dr. Morgan one evening. "That we always try to fix these animals with structure, discipline, and rapid interventions. But Lily did almost nothing except show up every day, giving Rex the space to find her at his own pace. Nothing might have been exactly what he needed." Morgan agreed with a soft chuckle, reviewing data on his tablet. "In therapy, we call it the do-no-harm approach. Let the patient reframe the narrative, become the agent of their own healing." It's inspiring to see it in real time. For Lily, the growing sense of positivity around Haven Paws didn't remove her grief, but it gave her a sense of purpose. She took short walks with Sam through the kennel each morning, quietly observing other dogs that needed calm attention. Sometimes she'd place her sketchbook next to a cage containing a trembling shepherd. She'd sit and draw while the dog watched. Gradually, fear shifted to curiosity in those dogs' eyes, much like it had in Rex. Local journalists reached out, wanting interviews or more videos. Sam shielded Lily from the media frenzy, wary of exploiting her vulnerability. But they did release a short follow-up clip showing Lily reading to Rex in a newly built comfort corner. Both of them relaxed, with only a low wooden barrier between them. The gentle solidarity in that video once again resonated with viewers, reinforcing the narrative that a child's quiet empathy could outshine even the darkest war memory. Though concerns about safety lingered, especially in the mind of Dean Holloway, the official's once strict stance was softening under public sentiment. No one had expected a silent girl and a supposedly irredeemable war dog to command so much support. Yet here they were, forging a new path. The county vet's office sent a note stating that if Rex continued to display cooperative behavior, they'd recommend reclassifying him from level 4 hazard to restricted access, which allowed for more freedom under Sam's supervision. For the first time since Rex arrived, Sam felt hopeful that they might meet Dean's 2-week deadline with flying colors. The uproar over the storm video had grown into a rallying cry for second chances, not just for Rex, but for all creatures, human and canine, wounded by life's cruelty. In a quiet moment by the kennel yard, Sam placed a hand on Lily's shoulder. She turned, meeting his gaze. He spoke gently. "I just want you to know, kiddo, you've done something extraordinary. You gave Rex hope when everyone else gave up. And in doing that, you gave me hope too. Lily offered a small smile, a silent thank you, and reached down to pat Rex, who nuzzled her hand in return. No words needed to be said. Their bond was enough to speak volumes. The next chapter of their journey lay ahead. What would happen when Dean revisited? How the new donations would shape Haven Paws, and whether Lily's quiet healing could expand to help other war dogs. But for now, a wave of relief and gratitude swept through the sanctuary. They had stared down the storm, both literal and metaphorical, and come out with a story that inspired hundreds. Hope wasn't just flickering, it was blazing. And for those who believed in the redemptive power of love and patience, Lily and Rex stood as living proof. In the wake of Rex's breakthrough, Lily started spending more and more time in the kennels alongside her grandfather, Sam. This wasn't something Sam had planned. Rather, it emerged naturally once Lily realized that Rex was not the only dog at Haven Paws wrestling with his own war-torn memory. Every morning, after she slipped out of bed and ate a quiet breakfast, Lily would gravitate toward the training yard, where she'd help set out fresh water bowls or sweep the concrete walkways. Initially, her involvement was purely practical, picking up stray tufts of fur, wiping down surface. But soon, it became something deeper. Sam began to notice the subtle ways Lily interacted with the other PTSD dogs. Much as she had done with Rex, she would lower herself to the ground, making her small frame even less threatening, and remain silent as a new dog paced or trembled in a corner. One shepherd mix named Shadow, who had partial hearing loss and a jagged scar along one ear, hissed and nipped at nearly everyone who came near. But Lily's steady gaze and gentle posture finally drew him out. Over the course of a week, Shadow went from cowering in the back of his kennel to tentatively sniffing Lily's outstretched hand. Soon, Lily helped give these traumatized dogs their meals, placing bowls carefully at a safe distance before stepping back to watch. The dogs saw in her a reflection of their own cautious approach to the world. Some would move in circles before finally summoning the courage to eat. Others would stare for long minutes, uncertain whether to trust. Yet each time Lily gave them space, never pushing them beyond what they could handle. Sam, observing from across the yard, felt both pride and awe. At times, he couldn't help but recall how Lily herself had once stared wordlessly at the walls of her bedroom, unwilling or unable to speak to anyone. One afternoon, Sam found Lily sitting beside a trembling Rottweiler named Ollie, who had been particularly volatile during storm. Ollie's head rested against Lily's knee, muzzle occasionally twitching from some vestigial memory of violence. "You're doing great, buddy," Lily whispered, stroking him softly. Sam's breath caught. She was not simply reading aloud as a ritual for Rex, but genuinely offering reassurance to a different dog. It was as if, in helping Rex heal, Lily had discovered her own reservoir of compassion, strong enough to extend to any creature in need. News of Lily's quiet success with Rex had already reached Dr. Eric Morgan, who continued making visits to document the evolving dynamic at Haven Paws. In one conversation, he pointed out how Lily herself was no longer the withdrawn, silent figure who first arrived. "She's not just speaking now, Sam," Dr. Morgan observed one morning. "She's initiating contact with dogs, and well, I've seen her chatting a bit with the staff. Too, she's out of her shell in a way none of us dared hope." Intrigued, Morgan proposed inviting a small group of children who faced trauma, whether due to losing a family member, suffering from domestic abuse, or grappling with crippling anxiety. The idea was to see if Lily's intuitive methods could resonate with other kids. Sam hesitated at first, protective of Lily's fragile progress, but after a lengthy discussion, he agreed to a cautious trial. That weekend, 4 children visited Haven Paws under careful supervision. An 8-year-old boy named Mason, who had lost his mother, a 12-year-old girl named Bella, who refused to speak in class, and 2 siblings traumatized by domestic conflict. Lily greeted them, still shy around humans her own age but determined. She led them to an open space by the kennels and demonstrated how she often approached a new dog. By sitting quietly, letting the dog decide whether to approach, and maybe reading a simple page from a book if the dog showed curiosity. At first, the other kids were uncertain, unused to such a slow, patient approach. Yet, seeing Lily's calm, they began to mimic her posture. Mason, who was especially wary, watched Lily hold out her hand to a Belgian Malinois named Bullet. When Bullet sniffed her fingers and licked them, Lily looked at Mason. "Would you like to try giving him a treat?" she asked softly. Mason hesitated, but then he took a piece of kibble from Lily's palm and inched closer. A minute later, Bullet gently ate from his hand. In that moment, a switch seemed to flip for Mason. He smiled tentatively, tears brimming in his eyes. "He's not scary," he whispered. Lily nodded, offering him a small, understanding grin. She could see in him a spark of confidence just beginning to kindle. For Morgan, the scene confirmed his theory. Lily's journey with Rex was more than an isolated miracle. It hinted at a replicable pattern of healing, for kids as well as dogs. Ava Holloway was 13, just a year older than Lily, and she originally stepped foot on Haven Paws only because her father, Dean, insisted she accompany him during inspection. Initially, Ava kept her distance, sharing Dean's mistrust of the entire place. That changed the day she saw Lily comforting Charlie, a retired bomb-sniffing Labrador, who had severe panic attacks whenever he heard the roar of low-flying planes. A small aircraft passed overhead, vibrating the windows of the Kennel building. Charlie collapsed into a trembling mess, whimpering and pawing the floor. Lily hurried over, lowered herself to his level, and spoke gentle words as she stroked his flank. Within minutes, Charlie's ragged breathing eased, his eyes losing that wild panic. Ava, witnessing this scene, felt a strange pang in her chest. How did she do that? She mumbled, half to herself. Afterwards, Ava found Lily outside, refilling water buckets. Working up the courage, she asked, "How did you know how to calm him down?" Lily paused, fiddling with the hose nozzle. "I used to be scared of planes too," she admitted quietly. "They reminded me of, well, never mind, I just knew it wasn't his fault he was afraid." From that day on, Ava visited Haven Paws after school. She stayed out of Rex's enclosure at first, still wary of the dog her dad called a loaded gun. But seeing Lily's approach to the other animals gradually changed Ava's perspective. She joined Lily in daily chores, cleaning bowls, folding blankets, gently calling out to the dog. Each success story chipped away at her assumptions. Where she once saw only hazard, she began to see possibilities for renewal. Sam noticed the growing friendship. Ava and Lily, two girls shaped by different kinds of tension, found common ground in caring for dogs that society deemed broken. In a quiet moment, Sam realized the implications. Dean Holloway's own daughter was forging a connection with Haven Paws that might shift public perception more effectively than any official testimony. Through Lily's example, a slice of the community had begun to understand that healing wasn't limited to a single war dog and a single traumatized girl. It was spreading outward, touching hearts that had once been closed off by skepticism or fear. And for Sam, that marked the true essence of Haven Paws, offering not just second chances for dogs like Rex, but second chances for everyone who walked through its gates. A few weeks after Lily's triumphant milestone with Rex, the state's Department of Veterans Affairs announced a special event, Soldier and Canine Appreciation Day. Hosted on the expansive grounds of a local veterans center, the day was meant to honor both human and canine service members. A mixture of ceremonies, demonstrations and memorial tributes would fill the schedule, drawing families, former soldiers, therapy organizations and the media. Dr. Morgan had already been sharing clips of Lily and Rex's progress on social media, capturing a flurry of new support. One of those clips landed in the hands of the event's organizing committee. Impressed by the bond between a once silent girl and a so-called irredeemable war dog, they reached out to Sam with a proposition. "We'd like Lily and Rex to perform a demonstration of trust and rehabilitation." As a testament to the motto, "No warrior stands alone," Sam was hesitant, worrying about how Lily would handle the spotlight, but Dr. Morgan advised him to let Lily decide. When approached, Lily gave it some thought. She had grown more confident over the past month, reading and interacting more openly. The idea of showcasing Rex's transformation in front of strangers was daunting, but she felt a pull to share his story, perhaps helping others believe in the power of second chances. With a small, resolute nod, Lily agreed. From then on, the date was set. Sam penciled Canine Day on the calendar, and Maya started scribbling potential demonstration routine. Meanwhile, Ava volunteered to handle logistics, filming behind-the-scenes footage, and compiling a playlist of uplifting songs. The entire staff at Haven Paws buzzed with excitement. If Lily and Rex could shine in such a public venue, it would be a beacon of hope, not just for war dogs across the region, but for all who doubted that healing was truly possible. Training sessions began in earnest. While Lily had already taught Rex basic cues, sit, stay, come, she and Maya now refined these commands to be seamlessly integrated into a short performance routine. Each afternoon, in the open field behind the main kennel, Lily and Rex practiced with hand signals. Sometimes Lily would raise 2 fingers, prompting Rex to walk in a small circle. Other times she'd extend a flat palm outward, signaling for him to stop immediately.
Rex responded with remarkable attentiveness, a far cry from the agitated dog he'd once. Whenever Lily felt nervous, Sam reassured her, "Just remember, if at any point Rex looks stressed, we can call it off. His well-being matters more than any performance." Lily appreciated the safety net. She would stroke Rex's back, feeling his steady heartbeat, reminding herself that this demonstration wasn't about perfection, but about showcasing how far they'd both come. Ava took charge of visuals and atmosphere, setting up a makeshift obstacle course to mirror some of Rex's old army training. She consulted with Maya on small, tasteful touches. Camouflage tarps draped over a low platform to simulate a combat zone, boxes that Rex could weave between to show agility. The pinnacle would be an old canine badge set that Lily would attach to Rex's collar, symbolic of his service days, now transformed into a symbol of partnership rather than rigid duty. In the background, Dr. Morgan occasionally filmed short segments of Lily's practice session. He planned to release a concise preview online, generating buzz for the upcoming event. Comments poured in with encouragement. "You got this, Lily and Rex," or "So proud of how far Rex has come." Some donors even sent small gifts, from custom dog vests to embroidered bandanas. The communal spirit filled Haven Paws with warmth and optimism. By the final week before the event, a hush of anticipation spread through the sanctuary. The local news station hinted at covering the demonstration. Former military handlers from surrounding counties began sending messages of support. For Lily, the once timid girl who barely spoke, the notion of standing in front of a crowd holding a microphone or giving cues might have seemed impossible months ago. But each time Rex obediently followed her hand signals in the practice field, Lily's confidence blossomed further. On the morning of the event, sunlight spilled across the Veterans Center lawn, illuminating rows of flags fluttering in a light breeze. Lily and Rex arrived early with Sam, Maya, Ava, and a couple of volunteers from Haven Paws. The place was already bustling, tables lined with informational pamphlets for veterans, therapy groups demonstrating equine or canine-assisted programs, and families gathering in small clusters. A portable stage stood at the center of a wide grassy area, flanked by speakers and a modest set of bleachers. As time ticked on, more and more people filtered in. Veterans in uniform, some with service dogs, others walking with canes or prosthetic limbs. Children ran around, laughing, occasionally being gently guided back by parents. News vans parked discreetly to the side, journalists preparing cameras. Lily felt the buzz of excitement mix with a twinge of anxiety. Rex, sensing her nerves, stayed close to her, tail at a relaxed halfway wag. At last an announcer took the stage, welcoming everyone to Soldier and Canine Appreciation Day. A few speeches followed, including heartfelt tributes to fallen soldiers, and recognition of canine units that had saved countless lives. By noon, a hush fell over the crowd. "Our next demonstration," the announcer's voice rang out, "comes from Haven Paws, a rehabilitation center for retired war dogs. Prepare to witness an extraordinary story of a dog who was given up on and the young girl who refused to lose hope." Sam and Maya exchanged encouraging looks with Lily, who stood holding Rex's leash loosely. Ava, off to the side, had a small camcorder running. Capturing the moment for the Haven Paws archives, Lily took a deep breath. "Ready?" Sam whispered. Lily nodded. Rex's ears pricked at her voice, as if telling her he was ready too. They stepped onto the short ramp leading to the stage. A ripple of murmurs moved through the crowd, as people noticed the dog trotting confidently beside a girl, wearing no protective gear, no muzzle, no heavy-duty harness. Just a simple collar with the old canine badge pinned to it. Lily paused at center stage, heart pounding, and glanced at Rex. He gazed back, tail swishing softly. Slowly, Lily raised a hand in a silent command. Rex responded by sitting gracefully at her side. The audience offered an appreciative rumble of applause. She followed up with a second hand signal, indicating for him to lie down. Rex obeyed, stretching out in a relaxed posture. The air felt charged with expectation. At Lily's quiet cue, he stood again and walked in a circle around her, his steps deliberate and composed. A hush enveloped the crowd as Lily spoke into a microphone, her voice trembling a little, but steady enough. "This is Rex. He came to Haven Paws with a lot of pain and fear. He lost someone important to him, the way I lost someone important to. But together we learned that being scared doesn't mean you're hopeless." She cleared her throat, then reached into her pocket, pulling out a small canine insignia, a worn patch from Rex's old military days. Bending down, Lily gently clasped it to Rex's collar. "He used to serve in war zones," she said softly. "Now he serves as a friend who reminds me I'm not alone." A wave of emotion passed through the crowd, Some saw tears in the eyes of older veterans, who recognized the badge. Cameras flashed. Lily then guided Rex to a small memorial statue on stage. A statue depicting a soldier and a canine side by side. She knelt beside it, and Rex, as if on cue, gently placed his paw on the statue's base. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. A war dog paying respects to fallen comrade. The applause that erupted was thunderous. People rose from their seats, clapping, some wiping their cheeks. Lily stood, blinking at the bright faces staring back. At the phones capturing every moment, she gently ruffled the fur behind Rex's ear. He offered a quiet bark, as if saying, "I'm here with you," from the front row. Dr. Morgan beamed, while Sam had tears glistening in his proud smile. Maya gave a discreet thumbs up. Even Dean Holloway, who had come only out of formal duty, stood with arms folded, gaze lowered in a mixture of humility and awe. To his side stood Ava, a look of open admiration on her face, as Lily and Rex exited the stage. As Lily walked off, she spotted a group of children waving excitedly. Among them was Mason, the boy who once hesitated to feed a traumatized dog. Now he grinned broadly, eyes shining with possibility. Lily felt a surge of joy. This was bigger than her and Rex. It was about every soul, human or canine, who understood that a scar could be a reminder, not just of pain, but also of survival and hope. In the aftermath of the applause, Lily led Rex to a corner of the lawn, where curious spectators lined up with questions. She let them pet Rex carefully, one at a time, explaining how he'd once been labeled level 4 hazard, and beyond saving. Each retelling underscored the miracle of his transformation. Rex accepted the attention calmly, occasionally yawning in that relaxed dog way. Lily fielded respectful questions, occasionally glancing at Sam for support, but mostly handling them on her own. By the time the day wound down, Lily felt exhausted, yet exhilarated. She and Rex had proven that trust, compassion, and unwavering patience could heal even the deepest wounds. They had also shown the crowd that a frightened dog and a grieving girl could lift each other into a future brimming with promise. For all the onlookers, veterans, families, journalists, this demonstration might have lasted only minutes. But for Lily and Rex, it was the culmination of endless days of fear, trials, and finally triumph. As Sam helped load the gear back into the van, he gave Lily a one-armed hug. "You were amazing," he whispered. She looked down at Rex, who met her gaze with quiet devotion. Yes, they'd come so far, but in many ways their story was just beginning. The applause that still echoed in her ears was more than appreciation. It was an affirmation that no matter how broken you start, healing is possible, and sometimes it takes a little girl and a steadfast dog to remind the world of that simple, profound truth. In the months following the transformative demonstration at the Soldier and Canine Appreciation Day, word about Lily and Rex spread far beyond their small community. A team of experts from Montana State University and the Canine Recovery Network arrived at Haven Paws, armed with clipboards, video equipment, and a healthy dose of skepticism. They had heard rumors of a revolutionary approach to canine PTSD, one that apparently involved a quiet 12-year-old girl and a dog that once defied all standard protocols. Eric Morgan welcomed them to the sanctuary, guiding them through the chain of events that had led from Rex's near euthanasia to his remarkable calm under Lily's presence. Over several days, the visiting researchers interviewed Sam, Lily, Maya, and even some of the children who had begun participating in the new non-demand approach. They watched archived footage of Lily singing in the rain, her yellow raincoat dripping as Rex finally let her touch him. That moment had been recorded by Dr. Morgan's phone and had since become a viral clip, showcased at an international PTSD therapy convention. Attendees in faraway cities gasped, teared up, and furiously took notes on how a child's simple act of empathy could unravel a war dog's years of terror. The Montana State University team, led by a behaviorist named Dr. Natalie Chung, pored over data from repeated observation sessions, logging key metrics, Rex's changes in body language, aggression levels, trust cues, and day-to-day improvements in overall well-being. Their findings reinforced Dr. Morgan's earlier hypothesis. The core dynamic was mutual healing. Lily overcame her trauma as she helped Rex conquer his. Dr. Chung was the first to publicly dub this approach the Rex method. Journalists seized upon the phrase, enamored by the story's human interest angle and its science-based underpinnings. Articles and short documentary clips appeared online, calling it a presence-based, low-pressure intervention, essentially giving traumatized dogs and people permission to heal each other through consistent, gentle contact, rather than forced drill. The press often described Lily's role as that of a quiet anchor, who allowed Rex to process his fears at his own pace. In a landmark moment, Dr. Morgan and his colleagues published a clinical paper titled Co-Recovery of Combat Injured Canines and Traumatized Youth, a case study on Rex and Lily in a leading veterinary journal. The piece included side-by-side interviews with Sam, Lily and volunteers at Haven Paws, as well as charts showing Rex's stress hormone levels before and after Lily's involvement. They highlighted how the Rex method might apply not just to war dogs, but also to police canines, rescue dogs, and even dogs rescued from abusive environments. Any situation where fear and distrust formed the core of the animal's psyche. By the end of spring, Lily found herself the unwitting star of a multi-segment news feature. In one interview snippet, a tearful father in Los Angeles thanked her. "Because of you and Rex, my daughter decided to volunteer at our local shelter. She was dealing with panic attacks, but now she's found purpose in comforting stray dogs." This snippet aired nationally, further solidifying the notion that sometimes the simplest gestures of empathy could lead to profound transformation. The mounting interest in the Rex method inevitably brought new funding opportunities to Haven Paws, opportunities that Sam initially struggled to handle. He was used to scraping by on limited donations and volunteer labor, yet suddenly multiple organizations expressed eagerness to partner with him, among them Wounded Warriors Foundation, Canines United, and a major veterinary pharmaceutical company. They proposed a collaborative grant to expand Haven Paws into a state-of-the-art center, specializing in rehabilitating war dogs and supporting children with PTSD. Morgan, they devised a plan to create an enhanced recovery complex, featuring semi-open kennels. No more oppressive chain-link cubicles. Instead, these new kennels had partial walls or sliding doors, allowing traumatized dogs to see greenery and natural light, rather than steel bars. The designs also incorporated natural soundscapes, such as gentle running water and soft music therapy. They hoped these improvements would further reduce canine stress and allow for greater interaction between dogs, caregivers, and visiting children. The grant committees were impressed, but they had their questions.
Would large-scale expansion compromise the personal touch that had apparently made Lily and Rex's relationship so effective? Could the sanctuary keep the environment calm with more staff and visitors? Sam countered by emphasizing that expansion would be purposeful, not overwhelming. "We're not building a spectacle or tourist attraction," he assured them. "We want to remain a haven, just better equipped, with more professionals and resources to handle complex cases." In the end, the joint sponsorship was approved, funding an overhaul so extensive that the property nearly doubled in size. Construction crews arrived, erecting new buildings in phases. An alternative therapy wing featuring a small auditorium dedicated for group sessions and educational workshops. A music and sound therapy room with padded walls and built-in speakers, and improved lodging for visiting professionals and interns. As if in tandem with the new physical infrastructure, Haven Paws also underwent a staffing expansion. Sam hired 2 additional veterinarians, each with a background in animal psychology, and a licensed child psychologist to coordinate sessions for young visitors. He even put out a call for specialized dog trainers who favored a gentle approach over traditional obedience drills. Wanting to replicate the synergy that Lily had shown, the local newspaper ran a headline, "Haven Paws Goes National, From Small Rescue to Leading PTSD Therapy Center." That summer, a group of high school and college students came for internships. Some were pre-vet majors, eager to learn advanced canine therapy techniques. Others had personal stories of trauma, hoping to find solace while contributing to the cause. Among them were a few kids who had once been patients themselves. Through therapy, they had gained enough stability to want to help others. Each morning, they gathered in a circle to discuss goals, review the Rex method guidelines, and map out which dogs needed extra attention. Morgan began drafting an official curriculum, tentatively titled Presence, Patience, Partnership, Training Modules for Canine-Human Co-Healing. He believed that if they systematized the knowledge gleaned from Lily and Rex's journey, the approach could be shared with therapists worldwide. Amid the construction noise and bustling campus-like environment, Lily still found her quiet corners with Rex, reading or humming to him. Occasionally, the pair assisted with new arrivals, some terrified, some aggressive, some heartbreakingly withdrawn. More than once, Sam caught Lily encouraging a newly traumatized shepherd, echoing the same gentle words that had once coaxed Rex out of his shell. Dean Holloway had faded to the background after grudgingly allowing Sam 2 weeks to prove Rex's viability. Yet the extraordinary impact of Lily and Rex's story gnawed at him, conflicting with his earlier stance. Over time, he witnessed how the sanctuary's success was no fluke. The public embraced Haven Paws as a legitimate therapy hub. Morgan and the local press, Dean found his own daughter, Ava, returning home each day with radiant stories about how Lily had helped a new dog or guided a frightened volunteer into a calmer state of mind. Curiosity finally led Dean to visit Haven Paws unannounced one Saturday afternoon. He quietly walked around. Noticing the newly constructed therapy wing, he saw Ava, kneeling beside a fresh arrival, a black lab named Oscar, who had developed panic responses to any human approach. Alongside her, Lily demonstrated slow, deliberate gestures, letting Oscar come to them. The dog's trembling subsided as Lily murmured encouraging words. Another child, a boy who had been bullied at school, stood by, an anxious expression on his face. Under Lily's guidance, he soon dared to extend a treat. Oscar cautiously accepted it, and the boy broke into a cautious smile. Dean lingered in the background, feeling a rare tightness in his chest. The scene reminded him of all the times he had dismissed the notion that a single dog could change so many lives. Yet here he was, staring at the reality, not just one dog, but several, each with a new chance, and multiple kids finding healing through empathy and patience. Moments later, Ava caught sight of him and waved him over. She introduced Dean to the boy, who admitted he'd been too scared to talk to most people, but found dogs less intimidating. Rex, now a calm, even-tempered figure, padded up beside Lily. The boy reached out hesitantly, and Rex lowered his head in acceptance. Dean swallowed hard as he watched this dog, once labeled level 4 hazard and a public menace, accept a hug from a trembling child who had finally mustered courage. Later, in a private conversation with Sam, Dean cleared his throat awkwardly. "I see I was wrong about a lot of this," he admitted. "If an animal once deemed irredeemable can help a kid who's been through so much, maybe we need to invest more in hope than in fear." Shortly afterward, Dean brought up the idea in a special town council meeting. The possibility of leasing a nearby plot of municipal land to Haven Paws for a nominal fee, essentially gifting them the space to further expand or create additional therapy zones. The council, initially hesitant, found Dean's newfound support persuasive. The final agreement allowed Sam to double the sanctuary's footprint. Dean even spoke on record, "If a dog once considered impossible to save can turn around and save others, we all need to revisit how we think about second chances." His transformation provided a poignant reflection of the sanctuary's mission. Redemption was never out of reach for humans or animals. By the time Haven Paws entered its next phase of growth, Lily was already enjoying a very different life than the one she had upon arrival. She'd transitioned to attending a part-time school schedule, then moved to a full roster as her confidence blossomed. She still loved the sanctuary and helped out every afternoon, but her days now also included normal adolescent pursuits. Lily discovered a surprising knack for baseball. During recess, she could often be found on the field practicing her swing. Although she rarely showed outward exuberance, people noted the determined gleam in her eye whenever she stepped up to the plate. She also joined a small group of friends, among them a boy named Bruno who had recently moved to town. Bruno had heard vague rumors about Lily's connection with a famous war dog, but Lily rarely mentioned it unless someone asked direct. Her school recognized her growing leadership qualities when she volunteered to help organize a mini fundraiser for local shelters. This led to her being chosen as a junior MC for a small school assembly. She was nervous, but she managed to speak clearly, drawing parallels between animal care and human empathy, earning the applause of both students and parents. She guided him to Rex's favorite shady spot, a sprawling oak tree near the edge of the expanded therapy wing. "This is my very first friend," she said, patting Rex's neck, "and he's the best teacher I've ever had," Bruno blinked. Watching in awe as Rex lifted his head, as if to acknowledge the new visitor, Lily proudly explained bits of their story, stopping whenever Bruno's eyes widened or he asked a curious question. By the end of the day, Bruno walked away with a deeper respect for Lily and a tangible sense of awe for the sanctuary. Rex's transformation was near complete, evolving from a dog tormented by the echoes of war into a calm, dignified presence at Haven Paws. Thunder no longer sent him into a frenzy. While he would still jolt if lightning cracked directly overhead, his immediate impulse was to seek Lily, or sometimes Sam, rather than attacking fences or frantically barking. He'd learned how to self-soothe by retreating under the oak tree or resting near the softly piped music in the therapy wing. Many children who came to Haven Paws found themselves drawn to Rex's steady demeanor. Far from the caged creature that once lashed out at everything, he would lounge in the grass, occasionally rolling onto his back for a belly rub, if he felt particularly safe. Staff often joked that Rex is now the friendliest face around here, even though some of them could still recall his terrifying lunges in the early days. A life-sized bronze statue depicting Lily kneeling beside Rex, her hand extended gently over his head. At the base was inscribed, "They believed in each other before they believed in themselves." The unveiling ceremony drew local media and even a few national reports. Children snapped photos in front of the statue, calling it the Lily Rex statue, while older veterans stood by in respectful silence, recalling their own war memories that had once felt unshareable. Soon after, a national canine rehabilitation organization requested permission to print Rex's image on their educational brochures, not as a fierce military dog, but as an emblem of patient healing companionship. Lily supported the idea, stating that if Rex's new image could inspire other fosters or encourage families to volunteer, it was a worthy cause. So the photos of Rex, ears perked, eyes calm, began appearing in shelters and canine therapy centers nationwide, accompanied by short captions explaining how trust had transformed a dog once deemed hopeless into a caretaker for men. At Haven Paws, it became routine for Sam or Maya to introduce newly arrived visitors, especially kids, by telling Rex's story first, how he was nearly put down, and how a single girl's quiet presence changed everything. Each fresh group listened intently, some with tears, others with quiet nods. Often the newbies would glance at Rex, half expecting to see scars or some sign of ferocity. Instead, they found a composed canine who would rise on all fours to meet them halfway, tail wagging softly as if to say, "It's okay, you can trust me." In that exchange, no words were required to convey the journey he had taken from soldier to symbol. A documentary filmmaker named Greg Patterson reached out to Dr. Morgan, eager to produce a feature-length film titled The Silent Pair. He believed Lily and Rex's story offered a universal theme of hope. After a few initial discussions, Lily shyly gave her blessing. Sam was protective, insisting the crew keep the filming low-key and respectful of the sanctuary's daily operation. Over weeks of gentle interviews, Greg captured Lily's reflective comments on how she no longer felt trapped by silence, along with Sam's musings about the intangible magic of letting wounds heal in their own time. The documentary showcased everything from the quiet corners where Lily once sat, to a montage of her interactions with the newly built semi-open kennels, guiding other anxious dogs through fear. It also featured staff and children who had discovered solace through the Rex method. Scenes of group reading sessions, gentle grooming practices, and dogs napping contentedly in the therapy wing underscored a radical message. Healing thrives in nurturing environments, not forced correction. Other sanctuaries took note. Some, especially those dealing with high-risk police dogs, began experimenting with the Haven Paws model, dubbing it a Rex-style companion approach. They found that, though not every dog responded as quickly as Rex, enough showed positive change to validate the method's value. An online support group formed, where trainers and therapists swapped tips on presence-based healing, sharing stories of children reading to dogs who'd been borderline feral. The ripple effect wasn't limited to canine. A few cat shelters even tried a parallel approach, calling it feline quiet time, though results were more varied. Emails and letters poured into Haven Paws. Military families, mothers of autistic children, teachers in underprivileged districts, each with a unique story of how Lily and Rex's journey gave them the push to try something new. Some wrote only a line or two. "I watched that video of Lily in the storm. After that I started volunteering at a rescue. Thank you for reminding me to never give up." Others recounted their own heartbreaks, describing how the sanctuary's story convinced them that second chances were more than a cliché. Lily, for her part, began compiling these letters and messages in a printed emails, and occasionally a photograph of a once terrified dog, now thriving with its human companion. On the front page of the scrapbook, Lily penned a short introduction. "Sit beside someone who's hurting,
not to fix them, but to make sure they don't feel abandoned. As the seasons shifted, Rex aged gracefully. His muzzle grew silver around the edges, but his eyes retained that steady, serene glow. Every so often, he would doze under the oak tree while Lily joined the new interns, or accompanied a shy visitor. If ever a thunderstorm rolled in, he might stiffen at the first rumble. Then he'd recall Lily's presence, seeking her out or lying calmly by the therapy room softly playing music. The gloom of his past still touched him, but it no longer ruled him. The final image, etched into many minds, was that of Lily, now a confident teenager, walking side by side with Rex through the sanctuary's main path, greeting volunteers, checking on the dog. In the twilight of each day, she'd sometimes pause and place a gentle hand on his neck, remembering the night she entered his kennel in a downpour. She might sense in his calm breathing how far they'd both come, from silent fear to quiet strength, from isolation to a purpose so much bigger than themselves. And that perhaps was the greatest legacy of all. Even as new stories and new heroes emerged, the ripple effects of Lily and Rex's journey continued, a testament to the power of trust, patience, and unwavering hope. Reminders that no life is ever truly beyond redemption, and that healing can begin in the smallest acts of simply being there. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this story. We'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know your favorite part. If you enjoyed the journey, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel for more captivating stories like this one. And don't miss out. Hit the notification bell so you're always updated on our latest content. Your support truly means the world to us. Reg. As dusk settled over the quiet town, Shadow rested beside Clara's feet, his body relaxed in a way it hadn't been in years. Avery stood at the window, watching the girl gently stroke the dog's fur. In that single connection, child and canine, something unspoken healed. Pain, once deeply buried in silence, had met compassion. Clara hadn't just helped a dog, she had rewritten a war-torn heart's ending. And Avery knew then, some battles are best won with gentleness, not orders. With love, not fear.